Have you ever whispered a single line of scripture and felt like heaven itself opened in your favor? Imagine waking up tomorrow and seeing opportunities, provision, and unexpected wealth flow into your life, all because of one divine declaration. Today, I'm going to show you the exact words that unlock that floodgate, and once you hear them, you'll never look at money or faith the same way again. When we look at Scripture, many see it only as history, a book of stories from long ago, or a set of moral lessons. But to the awakened soul, Scripture is more than text on paper. It is a living law, alive with divine energy, vibrating with eternal truth. Each word was spoken with power, designed to carry a frequency that reaches into the invisible realm and calls forth substance in form. To say Scripture is to align yourself with the creative law of the universe, the law that shaped the stars, set the seas in motion, and continues to govern every part of existence. The same law that holds the planets in perfect rhythm also governs wealth, abundance, and prosperity. When you declare a verse, you are not merely repeating ancient words. You are activating a force that transcends human effort. These words contain codes of power, like keys that unlock hidden doors of supply and open streams of opportunity where none seemed to exist before. Just as a seed contains the entire pattern of the tree within it, a single verse carries within it the pattern of prosperity waiting to unfold in your life. You do not need to struggle to make it grow. The divine law already knows the way. Your role is to plant the seed with faith, water it with repetition, and let it expand into form by trusting the process. So many look to the external world for answers, bank accounts, jobs, markets, or investments, believing these are the true sources of supply. Yet, Scripture reminds us that the ultimate source is unseen, eternal, and limitless. By speaking the word, you call upon this source directly, bypassing limitation and scarcity. The law does not question whether you are worthy, whether you have enough experience, or whether you've failed in the past. The law responds to vibration, to the energy with which you declare the verse. If you speak it with fear, it lies dormant. But if you speak it with boldness and unwavering certainty, it must bear fruit. Think of it like the law of gravity. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, or what your past looks like. If you drop a stone, it falls. Likewise, when you speak Scripture with faith, the law of abundance is set in motion. It is impersonal, unchanging, and exact. This is why people who truly grasp the living nature of Scripture often see sudden breakthroughs, miraculous provision, and doors opening that defy logic. They have learned to treat the word not as suggestion, but as spiritual law. This truth also dismantles the illusion that wealth is about luck, chance, or being in the right place at the right time. Wealth is the natural outworking of divine law, and the law is no respecter of persons. It will work for anyone who understands it and aligns with it. When you realize that, you stop chasing money and instead command it through alignment. You stop begging for opportunities and instead magnetize them. You stop fearing loss and instead rest in the certainty that supply is infinite and always replenished. Every verse of Scripture contains within it a principle that applies to your finances, your health, your relationships, your destiny. When you say the verse, you are not appealing to something outside yourself. You are awakening the divine within you, bringing your inner world into harmony with eternal truth. The outer world then rearranges itself to match that vibration. In this way, Scripture operates as law, not suggestion. To ignore it is to walk in shadows. To use it is to live in light. The wealth that appears when you stand on this law is not mere material gain. It is peace of mind, confidence in your future, freedom from fear, and the overflowing resources to live your purpose and bless others. Speaking Scripture allows you to remember who you are and what you are entitled to as a child of the divine. The law has already decreed abundance. Your voice activates it into motion. There is a hidden truth many overlook. Your words are not empty sounds. They are carriers of power, vibrations that shape reality. Every word you speak goes forth like a seed, planting itself in the soil of the unseen, destined to return in form. This is why Scripture places such emphasis on the tongue, declaring that life and death are in its power. When you speak words of faith, wealth, and abundance, you are commanding substance to take shape. When you speak words of fear, doubt, and lack, you are unknowingly giving power to scarcity. The spoken word acts as a creative decree. Think of the very beginning of time. The universe itself was not built with hands or machines, but with words. Let there be was the command, and creation obeyed. The same principle is still at work today, and it does not exclude your life, your finances, or your destiny. When you speak Scripture aloud, you align your vibration with the original creative force. You are no longer muttering opinions or wishful thinking. You are declaring divine law with the same authority that called the stars into being. Most people live by what they see, and then allow their words to echo their circumstances. They say, I am broke. Nothing ever works out for me. I can't afford this. Without realizing it, they are pronouncing judgments over their own lives, reinforcing the very chains they long to escape. Their words become self-fulfilling prophecies, building a prison around them brick by brick. The spoken word never returns empty. It always finds a way to manifest in some form. But when you understand the true power of the tongue, you flip the pattern. You no longer echo your circumstances, you command them to change. You begin to speak not what is, but what must be. When you say, my cup overflows, even when the cupboard is bare, you are sowing seeds that will return as provision. When you declare, wealth and riches are in my house, even while the bills are piled high, you are calling forth supply from unseen places. The law does not mock or ridicule such declarations. It responds to them with precision. This is not mere positive thinking or empty affirmations. The difference is that Scripture carries the authority of divine decree. It is not just your word. It is the eternal word spoken through you. When you speak it aloud, you join yourself with a force greater than your own willpower, greater than human effort, greater than chance. This is why a single verse, spoken with conviction, can unlock doors that months of labor could not. The spoken word also reshapes your inner world. Every declaration you make writes itself into your subconscious, programming your thoughts, emotions, and expectations. As you continue to speak truth, you no longer wait anxiously for evidence. You begin to expect it, and expectation itself is magnetic. Opportunities, people, and resources that match your declaration begin to find you, drawn by the vibration of your words. In this way, your outer circumstances slowly catch up with the inner reality you have spoken into being. Many dismiss this principle because they do not see instant results. They speak a verse one day and expect wealth to rain down by morning. When nothing appears, they abandon the practice and return to doubt. But the farmer does not plant a seed and dig it up the next day to check if it's growing. He plants, waters, and waits, knowing that the harvest is inevitable. The same law governs the spoken word. Your declarations are seeds, and in the right time, the harvest will come. The greatest shift happens when you take responsibility for your words, realizing that every phrase you utter is shaping your tomorrow. Idle complaints, careless jokes about lack, muttered fears about money, all of these are seeds too. The wise soul learns to guard their tongue, to speak only what they desire, and to align every word with divine promise. In doing so, they step into mastery of their reality, moving from victimhood to authority. When you speak Scripture aloud, you are not simply talking. You are commanding heaven and earth to align with divine order. You are declaring law into motion, and that law must be fulfilled. Wealth, health, joy, and peace are not begged for. They are spoken into being. The spoken word is the bridge between the invisible and the visible, between promise and manifestation. To neglect it is to live at the mercy of chance. To use it is to live in the certainty of divine provision. Faith is the unseen hand that turns the key of Scripture. Without faith, words are just words. Without faith, verses are recited but never alive. Faith is the current that electrifies your declaration, the invisible force that makes your spoken Scripture vibrate with life. You can speak the most powerful promises, but if you secretly doubt, if you whisper them as though testing fate, nothing will happen. Faith is the activator. It is the spark that ignites the law. Think of faith as the bridge between the unseen world of spirit and the seen world of matter. Scripture says that faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. It does not wait for proof. It declares proof before evidence arrives. It does not lean on circumstances. It commands circumstances to shift. When you speak a verse over your finances and truly believe, you are not begging for change. You are proclaiming change as already done. That belief alone causes the universe to move in your favor. Too often, people treat Scripture like a magic charm. They repeat the words, but their heart is filled with worry. They say, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." Yet immediately afterward they confess lack, fear, and despair. The words and the belief are in conflict, and therefore nothing shifts. Faith cannot operate where doubt is given greater power. Faith is not merely saying the verse. It is knowing in the deepest part of your being that what you have spoken is already yours. Faith does not ask how or when. Those are questions born of fear. Faith rests in certainty. It knows that divine law is perfect and that once declared, the word will not return void. Faith is like placing an order at a fine restaurant. You do not run into the kitchen to check if the chef received it, nor do you panic that the food won't arrive. You sit back in confidence, knowing it is being prepared. Faith works the same way. You speak Scripture, you declare abundance, and then you live in expectation, not in worry. Faith is also tested in moments of contradiction. Your bank account may still show emptiness. The bills may still pile up. But faith looks at the evidence of lack and refuses to bow to it. Faith says, "Though I see nothing, the supply is on its way." This is where many fail. They let appearances dictate their belief. But the greatest power lies in holding to faith, even when nothing seems to change. This steadfastness keeps the law in motion until the breakthrough arrives. The beauty of faith is that it multiplies with use. At first, it may feel fragile, like a candle flame in the wind, but as you practice, as you speak Scripture daily and witness even the smallest shifts, your faith grows stronger. A parking spot that appears at the right moment, a bill unexpectedly reduced, a new client or opportunity. Each of these is evidence that your words are working, and with every piece of evidence, faith becomes unshakable. Soon, what once felt impossible becomes natural. Faith is not wishful thinking. It is alignment with divine order. It is not closing your eyes to reality. It is seeing a greater reality behind the visible one. It is the knowing that wealth, provision, and abundance already exist in the spiritual realm, and that your faith-filled word calls them forth into the material. Faith does not create something out of nothing. It unveils what has always been waiting for you. The most powerful prayers are those spoken in unwavering faith. When you declare, "My storehouse is full, my table overflows, my life is abundant," and you speak it with certainty, you activate the law that must respond. The universe cannot resist a faith-filled word because it is aligned with divine principle. Doubt weakens, but faith commands. In the end, faith is not just belief, it is action. It is speaking the Scripture as though it is already done, walking as though you are already wealthy, giving thanks as though the blessing has already arrived. That living demonstration is what fuels manifestation. Faith, when paired with the spoken word, becomes the unstoppable force that multiplies your finances, transforms your life, and proves the law of wealth in action. Gratitude is the magnet that pulls more into your life. It is the multiplying force that turns small beginnings into overflowing harvests. When you are grateful, you signal to the universe that you already live in abundance, and abundance always seeks its own. Gratitude does not wait for wealth to arrive before it rejoices. It rejoices first, and by doing so, calls wealth to come forth. Most people make the mistake of reserving gratitude only for moments when their desire has manifested. They say, "I'll be thankful when I have more money, when the debt is gone, when the blessing shows up." But gratitude delayed is multiplication denied. True gratitude begins before the manifestation. It is the quiet confidence that knows the blessing is already in motion. It is the song you sing in advance, and that song attracts the abundance into form. When you speak scripture over your finances and follow it with deep gratitude, you are completing the circuit. Words set the law into motion, but gratitude fuels the law with energy. Without gratitude, your words are like seeds cast into dry soil. With gratitude, those same seeds are watered and nurtured, and they spring up into harvest. Gratitude is what keeps you aligned, even when circumstances have not yet shifted. Imagine holding just a single coin in your hand. You could look at it and lament how small it is, or you could look at it with gratitude and say, "I thank God for this symbol of infinite supply. This coin is proof that money flows into my life, and I bless it to multiply." The difference is not in the coin, but in the consciousness. When you bless and thank what you already have, you set in motion the law of increase. What you curse, what you belittle, what you take for granted shrinks. What you bless grows. Gratitude is also the antidote to envy and fear. When you see others prospering, you have two choices. You can let jealousy creep in and close the door to your own supply, or you can rejoice with them and silently give thanks that abundance is being proven possible in your own world as well. Gratitude removes the sting of comparison because it roots you in the knowing that supply is infinite. What blesses another does not take from you. It affirms that more is on its way. A grateful heart is magnetic. Opportunities feel drawn to it. People feel drawn to it. Solutions flow naturally to a person who radiates thankfulness. Gratitude shifts your energy from desperation to expectancy, and expectancy is irresistible to the law of wealth. When you wake each morning and give thanks not only for what is visible, but also for what is unseen, you are laying down a trail for abundance to follow. It is powerful to make gratitude specific. Do not simply say, "I am thankful for money." Speak it as though it already overflows. I am thankful that wealth flows to me in perfect ways. I am thankful that my bills are paid with ease. I am thankful for the unseen channels that are opening even now to bring me more than I imagined. This kind of gratitude speaks to the law with clarity, and the law responds with multiplication. Even in times of lack, gratitude can shift everything. It may feel strange to give thanks when the cupboards look bare or the account feels thin, but that is precisely when gratitude carries the most power. Gratitude in the presence of lack is faith in action. It is the refusal to agree with appearances. It is the declaration that, despite the evidence, abundance is real and already present in spirit. This mindset alone can turn scarcity into supply. Gratitude also keeps the heart open. Wealth that comes without gratitude often slips away quickly because it is never cherished. But when you live in continual thankfulness, you anchor the abundance into your life. You create a flow that not only brings more, but sustains it. Gratitude ensures that what comes will remain, and what remains will grow. The law of wealth is simple. What you appreciate appreciates. Every thank you is a seed, and every seed multiplies. Gratitude is not just politeness. It is a spiritual practice, a creative force, and a wealth magnet. Speak your scripture, then let gratitude flood your heart, as though the manifestation has already arrived, and soon it will. The spoken word is one of the most powerful forces given to mankind. It is the instrument through which invisible ideas become visible realities. Every word carries vibration, and every vibration creates form. When you speak scripture over your finances, you are not reciting empty lines. You are activating spiritual law, calling forth substance from the unseen to manifest in the seen. Many live unaware of the creative power that rests upon their tongues. They speak casually of lack, repeating phrases like, "I can't afford this," or "money never comes easily to me." What they do not realize is that these words are decrees, and decrees must manifest. The universe does not distinguish between words spoken in jest and words spoken in seriousness. It responds simply to the energy and direction of the statement. Thus, Very words that describe their circumstances are the words that perpetuate them. But the moment you take hold of your speech, the moment you align your words with truth, your reality begins to shift. When you say, "Wealth flows to me in perfect ways," even if your pockets feel empty, you are sowing seeds of abundance. When you say, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want," you are speaking a decree that dissolves lack and calls forth provision. Words are not weak, they are containers of power, and the power they carry is determined by the faith behind them. Every great change begins with a spoken declaration. Think of how creation itself was birthed. Let there be light, and light appeared. That same creative authority is mirrored in the human voice. When you speak, you are shaping your world. The question is not whether your words are working, but whether you are using them consciously or carelessly. Careless words bring careless results, but intentional words bring intentional manifestation. Affirmations rooted in Scripture carry extraordinary potency because they are aligned with eternal truth. When you declare, "My cup runneth over," you are not begging for overflow, you are commanding it into existence. When you say, "All my needs are met according to His riches," you are not pleading for scraps. You are affirming an inheritance that is already yours. The spoken word, wrapped in faith, is like a key that unlocks doors no man can shut. It is vital, too, to speak consistently. A farmer does not plant seeds once and expect an instant harvest. He plants daily, waters daily, tends daily. So it is with your words. Repetition ingrains truth not only in the universe, but also in your own subconscious. Each time you speak words of wealth, you are reprogramming your mind, teaching it to expect abundance, to anticipate provision, to align with prosperity. And as your mind shifts, your external reality follows. There is also a rhythm to spoken words that magnifies their effect. Speaking aloud is different from silent thought, for words vibrate through your very body. They travel through the air and carve their imprint upon the atmosphere. A whispered affirmation carries weight, but a spoken declaration resounds with authority. This is why it is so powerful to speak Scripture audibly each morning, to let your own ears hear the truth, and to let your environment be saturated with the vibration of abundance. Guard your tongue with vigilance, for every word is a seed. If you find yourself tempted to speak lack, pause and replace it with a decree of abundance. If you are about to complain, stop and declare gratitude instead. If you feel fear creeping in, counter it with words of faith. The more disciplined you become in your speech, the more aligned your world becomes with the wealth you desire. It is not enough to think wealth. You must speak wealth. It is not enough to hope for provision. You must declare provision. Words are the bridge between the unseen and the seen, the spiritual and the material, the promise and the manifestation. When you wield them with faith, you hold the very instrument of transformation. Speak life, speak abundance, speak truth, for the law of wealth answers to the spoken word, and the one who masters their speech masters their destiny. Fear is the greatest thief of wealth, for it closes the door before provision can even knock. Many people pray for abundance, declare prosperity, and even speak Scripture over their lives, yet wonder why nothing changes. The answer often lies in fear. Fear is faith inverted. It is belief in lack, belief in danger, belief that good will not come. Where faith creates, fear destroys. Where faith multiplies, fear diminishes. Where faith calls in wealth, fear chases it away. Faith is not a fragile wish. It is a force, a conviction that the unseen is more real than what your eyes behold. To walk in faith is to stand on truth when every circumstance shouts the opposite. It is to declare abundance when your bank account shows emptiness. It is to affirm provision when every bill looms large. Faith does not wait for proof. It creates proof. Fear demands evidence before it believes, but faith produces evidence by refusing to surrender to doubt. Those who experience the overflow of wealth are not those who never felt fear, but those who refuse to let fear rule their decisions. Fear whispers, "What if you fail?" A faith responds, "What if this is the path to my breakthrough?" Fear says, "You can't afford to give," A faith says, I cannot afford not to give, for giving opens the flow of receiving. Fear calculates only the visible numbers, but faith sees supply from an unlimited source. Faith is strengthened by focus. Whatever you magnify becomes your master. If you dwell on lack, fear grows louder. If you meditate on Scripture, faith grows stronger. The mind cannot hold both faith and fear at once. One must dominate. This is why repeating Scripture is so powerful. It continually shifts your inner gaze back to the truth until it becomes the only reality. You recognize, when you say, I shall not want, in the face of need, you train your mind to accept abundance as inevitable. Faith also requires bold action. It is not merely words spoken, but steps taken in alignment with those words. To believe that wealth will come and then cling tightly to every coin in terror is not faith, but fear in disguise. Faith gives freely, invests wisely, and moves confidently, knowing that every step opens the way for greater supply. Fear waits until everything is certain, but faith acts in uncertainty, trusting that certainty will follow. The truth is that fear will always attempt to rise when you stretch toward more. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of loss, they are the shadows that stand at the edge of your breakthrough. But shadows are powerless illusions. They vanish when the light of faith shines upon them. The moment you choose to trust that divine supply is unfailing, fear loses its grip. The moment you declare, wealth flows to me from expected and unexpected channels, fear begins to crumble. The more you lean into faith, the smaller fear becomes, until it is no more than a faint echo. Faith also has a magnetic quality. It draws to you the very opportunities, people, and resources needed for your increase. Fear, by contrast, repels them. Those who operate in faith seem to encounter coincidences, unexpected calls, chance meetings, sudden open doors. Yet these are not coincidences at all. They are the natural result of living in alignment with the law of supply. Faith creates a field that attracts provision, while fear creates a wall that blocks it. The secret is to choose faith daily, in the small moments as well as the large. Each decision becomes a declaration. Do I trust in lack, or do I trust in abundance? Do I believe the appearance of limitation, or the promise of limitless supply? Every time you choose faith, you strengthen it, and every time you strengthen it, fear grows weaker. Eventually, faith becomes your natural state, and wealth flows as easily as breath. Gratitude is the golden key that unlocks the treasury of heaven, for it transforms what you have into more and multiplies what seems small into abundance. Many chase after wealth with anxious striving, believing that only when they acquire more will they feel thankful. Yet the truth is reversed. Only when they feel thankful will they acquire more. Gratitude is the vibration of sufficiency. It tells the universe, I already live in overflow, and that signal draws even greater supply. When you give thanks for what is in your hand, no matter how little, you shift your focus from lack to abundance. The mind can only magnify one reality at a time, and gratitude chooses the reality of plenty. To wake each day and declare, I am grateful for the provision of this day, plants seeds that grow into provision for tomorrow. To thank God for the breath in your lungs, the food before you, the shelter around you, is to affirm that supply is already present, and that recognition becomes the magnet for more supply. Gratitude is not passive, it is powerful. It transforms fear into trust, worry into peace, and frustration into joy. The person who complains about bills, debts, and difficulties attracts more of the same, for they are magnifying the energy of lack. But the person who gives thanks that they have resources to pay, that they have opportunities to create income, that they have divine wisdom guiding them, finds that new doors open where none seemed possible. Gratitude makes room for miracles. Even Scripture reveals this law. Before multiplying loaves and fishes, thanks was given. Before raising the dead, thanks was given. Thanks precedes multiplication because it declares that sufficiency already exists. Gratitude is a declaration of faith in action. It sees provision before it arrives, and by acknowledging it, calls it forth into form. To practice gratitude as a wealth magnet, one must learn to give thanks for both the seen and unseen. It is easy to be grateful for a gift in hand, but true wealth consciousness gives thanks for the gift on its way. To say, I am grateful for the wealth flowing to me now, even before it appears, is to activate the law of attraction at its highest level. It is aligning with abundance so completely that the universe must mirror it back. Gratitude also multiplies through expression. A heart that feels thankful but never speaks it keeps the energy contained, but a voice that declares it releases that energy into the atmosphere. To speak gratitude aloud, to write it down daily, to share it with others, strengthens its power. Every word of thanks spoken sends out a frequency that draws new channels of supply. Another dimension of gratitude is contentment, not in the sense of settling for less, but in celebrating what is present while expecting greater. Discontentment sends a message of lack, but contentment radiates sufficiency. When you say, I am grateful now, you create an environment where more is welcomed. Gratitude does not diminish ambition, it amplifies it by keeping the heart open to receive without desperation. Those who cultivate gratitude live in a different atmosphere than those who dwell in complaint. Their countenance is lighter, their words are uplifting, their energy is magnetic. People are drawn to them, opportunities are offered to them, doors are opened to them. Gratitude is not only a spiritual law but a practical magnet. It shapes how others perceive you, respond to you, and trust you. Wealth flows more easily to those who radiate gratitude because they embody the very vibration of abundance. To live in gratitude is to live in wealth already. Regardless of the figures in your account or the possessions in your hand, it is a state of being that precedes the state of having. When you thank God for increase, when you give thanks for favor, when you express gratitude for opportunities yet unseen, you align yourself with the endless flow of supply. Gratitude is the bridge between what is and what will be, and once you stand upon it, nothing can prevent wealth from multiplying in your life. The spoken word is not mere sound, it is power, vibration, and creation. Every word carries life or death, blessing or curse, increase or loss. When you speak words of lack, you give life to lack. When you speak words of abundance, you give life to abundance. The tongue is the rudder of the ship of your life, and wherever it turns, the whole vessel follows. If you wish for your finances to multiply, you must first discipline the words that flow from your mouth, for they are commands to the universe and decrees to the unseen. Most people sabotage their wealth through careless speech. They say, I can't afford this, money never stays with me, or life is too expensive. Each phrase becomes a seed planted into the soil of reality, and that soil does not question, it simply produces. Words are seeds, and they always bring harvest. The reason many struggle with lack is not because supply does not exist, but because their mouths constantly reinforce the story of lack. To shift from poverty to abundance, one must shift from negative declarations to affirmations of wealth and supply. When you begin to speak words of prosperity with faith, you create an atmosphere that invites provision. To declare, wealth flows to me in expected and unexpected ways, opens a door for supply to arrive from channels you cannot yet see. To say, I am aligned with divine abundance, and money is my servant, not my master, sets you free from fear and places you in a position of power. Words like these create new patterns in the subconscious, and the subconscious then directs actions, opportunities, and circumstances to fulfill the spoken decree. The greatest example of the power of words comes from creation itself. The universe was spoken into being, light appeared because it was declared, order came forth because it was called. In the same way, your financial world is shaped by what you declare consistently. If you speak confusion, confusion reigns. If you speak order, order manifests. If you speak increase, increase becomes inevitable. The spoken word is not passive. It is the law of creation in action. It is not enough, however, to simply repeat words without belief. The words must be charged with faith, conviction, and expectation. Empty phrases do not carry power, but a word spoken with certainty becomes irresistible to the universe. When you say, "My cup overflows with abundance," with unwavering faith, you ignite the law of manifestation. The spoken word combined with faith is like a spark meeting fuel. It bursts into creation. Another vital aspect of the spoken word is consistency. A person cannot speak abundance in the morning and cancel it with fear at night. The universe responds to stability, not double-mindedness. To live in wealth consciousness, your words must align with your vision daily. Every conversation becomes an opportunity to reinforce abundance. Instead of saying, "I'm broke," say, "I'm in the process of expansion." Instead of saying, "I can't afford it," say, "That's not my priority right now." Each shift moves you closer to prosperity. There is also a sacred power in speaking words of blessing over money itself. Many handle money with fear or resentment, but when you bless it, you align with its flow. To hold a coin or note and say, "I bless this money, and I command it to multiply and return to me increased," infuses that energy into circulation. What you bless multiplies, and what you curse diminishes. Speaking gratitude and blessing over money elevates it from mere paper into a servant of divine purpose. The spoken word also extends to others. When you speak prosperity into the lives of those around you, you expand your own flow. To bless others with words of increase, to encourage their growth, to declare their success, places you in harmony with the law of giving. Words given return multiplied. A person who speaks blessing into others will never lack blessing for themselves, for the cycle always comes full circle. Ultimately, your financial destiny is written in the language of your own mouth. Every declaration is a brushstroke on the canvas of your future. If you desire wealth, then speak it daily with boldness. If you desire freedom, then declare it until it manifests. If you desire overflowing provision, then release it with words until it appears. The spoken word is your greatest instrument of creation, and when aligned with faith and gratitude, it becomes the very force that multiplies wealth beyond measure. Faith is not a passive belief. It is an active force that demands expression through action. To say you believe that wealth and abundance are yours, but continue to act from fear, hesitation, or lack is to deny the very power you claim to hold. Faith, when alive, moves the body, the mind, and the spirit into alignment with the outcome it trusts. It does not wait for perfect conditions. It creates conditions through bold steps. Financial miracles are not born from idle wishing, but from faith that takes form in courageous action. Many people pray for prosperity while remaining paralyzed by fear of failure, fear of risk, or fear of change. They wait for a sign, not realizing that faith itself is the sign. The moment you sense an inner pull toward expansion, that is divine guidance, urging you to step forward. To ignore it is to reject the miracle. Faith without action is like a seed never planted. It carries potential, but it will never bear fruit. When you act, even if you do not see the full picture, you declare to the universe that you trust provision will meet you on the way. Action inspired by faith is very different from action driven by desperation. Desperation pushes blindly, faith flows with certainty. When you move in faith, doors open that were previously invisible. An idea, when acted upon, becomes a channel of wealth. A meeting, when pursued with confidence, becomes a bridge to opportunity. A skill, when shared boldly, becomes a magnet for increase. Each step taken in faith creates momentum, and momentum invites miracles. There is also a deep law at work. Abundance does not arrive fully formed. It grows with your steps. Just as the Israelites saw the waters part only when they stepped forward, so too financial miracles appear when you walk into the unknown with trust. You may not see the entire path, but faith assures you that each stone will rise to meet your foot. The miracle is not in standing still and hoping. The miracle is in moving and discovering provision where you least expected it. Faith in action also requires obedience to inner intuition. The still, small voice often whispers directions that seem illogical to the rational mind. It may urge you to give when logic says to hold back, to invest when circumstances look unfavorable, or to speak when silence seems safer. Yet those who obey this inner guidance often find themselves in the flow of extraordinary provision. Financial miracles are born not in the realm of human logic, but in the realm of divine alignment, and faith is the bridge that carries you there. A vital component of faith in action is persistence. Acting once and retreating when results do not appear immediately is not faith. It is doubt in disguise. True faith acts, waits, and acts again. It stands firm when evidence is scarce and continues forward when others give up. This persistence is magnetic. It draws opportunities to you because the universe responds to unwavering energy. The person who keeps moving in faith, even when external conditions seem impossible, inevitably witnesses a breakthrough that others never experience. Generosity is another expression of faith in action. To give when you feel you cannot afford to give is to declare, "My source is infinite, and I will never lack." Such an act unlocks supply that logic cannot explain. The law of giving and receiving is a cornerstone of abundance, and faith activates it. When you release what you hold tightly, you make room for greater increase. Those who understand this law step into a cycle of miracles where money flows in and out with ease, always returning multiplied. Ultimately, faith in action is the difference between a dream unfulfilled and a life transformed. It turns belief into substance, prayers into provision, and declarations into reality. The universe does not reward hesitation, but responds powerfully to those who dare to act as if their abundance is already secured. When you rise each day and live as though wealth is certain, you set in motion forces that rearrange circumstances, draw opportunities, and release miracles beyond what you imagined.